Another episode of Bourbon with a Taste of Military History. I'm your host, Clint Papina, and once again, we're back online going to talk about another fantastic small batch distilled bourbon. Now, I know I've been gone for a while, and that's just life as it is. Coaching track and all those other things that go on, it just kind of kept me away from reviewing bourbons. It hasn't stopped me from drinking them, but it's kept me from reviewing them. I have some guests with me today, and we're going to get to them in a second, but what I want to tell you is we're actually shooting with a new camera this time. I've been telling y'all that I'm trying to upgrade my my game here a little bit. You'll also notice the new logos here when we publish this to YouTube, and then hopefully soon my creative person that is working with me, Simone, will get me my new intro, my 8 to 10 second new intro, which should be pretty exciting once we get it done. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves. And this is, there's a lost episode out there of my bourbon reviews that has guests for the first time, and I haven't done any guests since then because it didn't really go as well as my edit person and my camera crew liked. So, why don't you guys introduce yourself?
I'm Donnie Ross. I'm with River City Sugar Gliders. That's www.rivercitysugargliders.com. And retired Little Rock police officer and compatriot of Clem Papinal over here.
Yeah, and I'm Justin, buddy of Donnie Ross, and recently introduced to Clem, bourbon enthusiast. So that's where I get roped into this picture.
Anything you want to sell?
No, I've got no shameless plugs.
You don't have any shameless
plugs?
No,
none.
All right.
Never miss the opportunity for a shameless plug.
I've seen his little animals, sugar gliders.
Sugar gliders.
I've seen his little animals. They're really cute, but I got a dog, and you've seen Bruno. He's running around here. You've seen him before. So, like I said, what we're gonna review today is Horse Soldier, and this bourbon is distilled in Florida by a group of ex-Green Beret soldiers who became famous during a movie called 12 Strong. So if you've ever seen that movie 12 Strong, I think Chris Hemsworth is in it. I've seen it 3 times, and I enjoy it. And being a person that collects war movies, it is right up there as far as I'm concerned with legendary movies such as Battle of the Bulge, Midway, and stuff like that. It is extremely exciting, and what makes it really cool is that it's based on true events. So we're going to talk about them a little bit here in a minute, but let's talk about the bourbon first. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pour a little bit. And remember now, we got these fancy little Glengarry glasses, that we use. If you want to do your own bourbon tasting, you don't have to have one of these glasses. I think I've told you before in other videos, I've followed a couple other people on YouTube, and there's this sommelier out of a bar called Flatiron Grill in New York. I think her name is Sarah, I could be wrong, but she recommends drinking right out of a tumbler. She said you don't need these fancy glasses. So, but I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna do the fancy glasses. And I'm gonna pour some out here for these guys, and we're gonna talk about this bourbon. And these guys have let me join their bourbon club, and they know their bourbon. So we're all just going to discuss this for a little bit, and look at it and talk about it a little bit. And we're gonna, like I've got my iPad, my internet machine here going, and if it's going to work here for me, and we're on Horse Soldier webpage, so we'll make sure that we talk about what's on the webpage, so it gets the truth. The full story, we don't miss something accidentally, my millions and millions of followers that are going to go out there and rush and buy a bottle right away, and I don't want them to be, to go the wrong way. So, just looking at it, I really like the color. It's a little bit darker than some.
And definitely like a golden amber.
Yeah, golden amber.
Not quite the copper.
It's got some good tails on it. You can see it in the glass. It kind of tails real nice. I like that.
And definitely holds on. You can see where I hit that rim.
Yeah.
Get a good trace after a second where it starts running back.
Yeah, you don't see that all the time. So
she has legs.
As I like to say,
yeah, she has legs.
Got legs.
Okay, here's the part that I am the worst at, and even when I go to our Bourbon Club meetings. And recently, in fact, I was at a couple wine classes that one of the colleges put on here. And I went with some friends, and they keep talking about smelling it, the wine. And out of the 22 wines I've tasted in 2 different nights, I only smelled one time did I smell something that was actually in the wine. So my nose is probably shot. So when I'm smelling something here, I am probably the wrong person to
And me too. But
to tell you what it
I'm
is.
getting cherries and caramel.
Okay.
And I was going to go with a little bit of honey to that as well. More of the sweeter notes. I don't get a whole lot of alcohol. So
Yeah, I like that. I
do
really
too.
like.
It's
Of course,
very
this,
mellow.
this is only 87 proof, so,
So there you
we
go.
shouldn't get a whole bunch of alcohol
And you don't.
out of this bottle right here. Yeah. No, the website says the tasting on the nose. It's caramel, toasted corn. I mean, I don't know how you would smell toasted corn.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah, oak,
Right.
cinnamon and dark fruit nose. The taste is fantastic with hints of oak, vanilla, nutmeg, some mild black pepper spice, and a light bit of honey.
Yeah, and
There
I
you
was
go.
catching that on the nose.
Good
for sure.
balance,
Just a
medium
little-
body, and a warm, spicy feel.
So no cherries.
No cherries. Sorry about
Well.
that. But that was a good guess.
Maybe that's the
yeah.
dark fruit.
That's
Cherries
the-
are dark
right,
fruit.
yeah.
That's
It is
a dark fruit.
I
Cherry
mean,
is a
it's-
dark fruit. Yeah, there
I
you
get
go.
the sweet. You definitely get
Yeah.
the sweet to the nose
Yeah.
for certain. So
I don't, I just like the smell of it because it doesn't smell like alcohol. And that to me is a plus. So,
And that puts it right square in my wheelhouse because I like the lower proof bourbons because you don't get the burn.
really?
and I'm that high proof guy.
And me too. I'm that high proof guy too. I really like my bourbon a little bit higher. When I'm out buying bourbon, I was going to say booze. When I'm out buying bourbon now, I'm looking for anything bonded or higher.
I'm the same way.
And to be honest with you, the other day I bought a Jim Beam. I had read an article on a website that I got, and I read an article on a Jim Beam product. And I'm not a big Jim Beam person, even though every once in a while if I get, want to, have a road pop, I'll buy a can of the Jim Beam Cola. And I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what Jim Beam is to me. It's a drink that you would mix with pop or some kind of other something else. But they wrote a very great article on Jim Beam Bonded. So I went and found a bottle for $14,
Amazing.
and that stuff is not bad at all.
100 proof.
100 proof.
$14 bottle,
Yeah, it's
that's-
worth drinking by itself. You don't need to mix a Coke with it, or a tea, or lemonade, or ginger ale, whatever you mix with it. I know we're not supposed to be talking about Jim Beam. We're actually talking about Horse Soldier. But it just, talking about that different proof stuff is something that we need, that everybody needs to know about. The lower proofs are a little bit better. They do, they do sip better.
It's definitely for an everyday sipper. A lot of people like to go with that lower proof.
Less bite.
Yeah,
Less
whole
bite,
lot less
yeah.
bite.
Yeah. Oh, see, it grabs you a little bit right there in the beginning.
And I can get the cinnamon on the front of the tongue.
Yeah.
I can, yeah, as it kind of right there on the very sides of the front of the tongue. I get that cinnamon.
One thing I like about it, I did get that grab a little bit, but I can feel, we have another guest coming, so, he's not gonna be in the video, but we have people arriving. So don't worry about Bruno barking. So, but I can feel it here in the back of my throat a little bit.
It definitely carries.
Which
so.
is carry. That's
It
good.
does.
I like that a whole lot. So on the website, the mash bill is 65% corn, 30% rye, 5% barley, two-row, a combination of distiller's malt and base two-row, water from limestone aquifers, carefully filtered for purity, grain, water, yeast, and wood, without additives or artificial colors. Have y'all ever drank
Yes.
limestone water from Kentucky?
No, but I think have you not done that? You can order it,
You can
by
order it.
itself.
So I did order it one time. I ordered a case of it because I said, holy cow, that's pretty cool. It's a little pricey, but you know what, I'll tell you this. It changes the taste of your bourbon. It doesn't taste like regular, when you mix your bourbon with it, because I like to put water in my bourbon, it's
So it's not just hype.
It's not just
There's
type.
actually something.
There
to it.
is. And of course, all Kentucky bourbon comes from, limestone water anyway. I
Absolutely.
mean, because that's what Kentucky's known for. So when you get a bourbon that like this one comes out of Florida, you're not going to get that limestone taste.
And we did that with a bourbon we were drinking. My wife and I were at a distillery back in the summer, and the guy that was doing the tour up there, he was talking about, I started drinking my bourbon the way Scotch people drink. And I'm like, I didn't know what he was talking about because I don't drink Scotch. And I said, well, what do you mean? You hold your finger out? And he said, no. He said, you take just a drop of water and drop it into your bourbon. So we tried, wasn't that me and you?
It was.
We took some 120, whatever it was, proof bourbon and started drinking it. Nobody liked it. We took and put one drop of water in this, 1 ounce of bourbon, swirled it around it, and it completely changed the profile of the bourbon. So you don't have to put a lot of water, just one drop of water will change the profile of it.
I'll tell you this, I have reviewed Big and Rich, John Rich's bourbon, Redneck Riviera.
Mm-hmm.
I have done a review on that, and during the review, it's an 80 proof bourbon, and it's a mixture of several types of bourbons that he put together, but it was a good sipper. But when you put it on over ice, ruined it.
Just almost,
ruined it.
yeah.
It
Melons
took
out
away
too much.
Too much.
Turns it into water.
There's nothing there. But but there are a lot of bourbons, especially the higher proof ones, where you've got to put a drop or two of water in it just to calm it down.
Well, calm it down and really bring out all those other flavors that they
Exactly.
talk about on the tasting notes.
Exactly,
I mean, when you're
yep.
hitting just with nothing but heat,
Yep.
it takes a minute for those to come through.
So let's see what else they got in here. Let's talk about, let's see about them, about us a little bit. I really want to talk about Horse Soldier just a little bit because, it is an American, these guys, really did a good deal. It's made by American Freedom Distillery. It's a dream turned reality for a special group of friends who served our nation in its darkest days and answered America's call as Generation Force has. There is a true story, and they leave it for others to tell. But they're down there in Florida, guys that served our country and are making some really, really good bourbon.
Is this their only offering?
No, they have 2 other bottles out there too. That I actually have upstairs. They're higher proof. Each one's higher proof.
Okay.
And I think the highest one is 111 proof. And to be honest with you, I haven't even opened those.
Really?
To try them. I mean, it's something that we can try sometime. What I wanted to do was kind of make this. We'll talk about this battle, and then the next time we'll do another one. We'll talk about one of their other battles. Because there's 3 of them, and there was like 3 or 4 battles that were. If you watch the movie 12
Sure,
Strong,
link to it.
yeah, there's 3 or 4 battles that occurred in that, and I just wanted to bring a bottle each time and talk about that specific battle. Just like we're getting ready for the big, I'm going to give a plug here for you guys because I want you to keep watching, and I want you to like my channel, and I want you to subscribe to my channel. But in December, I know it's a long time away. Most of us are waiting for Christmas Hallmark movies. I mean, that's what I'm waiting for. But that's not all that's coming for Christmas. Not just presents. But what we're going to do on this channel is we're going to do a week-long tribute to Battle of the Bulge. And we're going to taste a different bourbon every day, and we're going to talk about what happened at the Battle of the Bulge that day during December, which to this date is still the largest land battle ever fought by American forces. Back in the winter of 1944, December, there in Belgium, in Germany. So get ready for that. Subscribe to my channel so you'll be the first one to get it that day. You can rush home or watch it at work or pull your phone out or whatever type of device you have so you can watch the famous Battle of the Bulge bourbon review series. Well, let's get back to Horse Soldier in Afghanistan.
Listen, I'm impressed. I mean, it's an easy drinker. It's got great flavor.
It's worth drinking without anything else.
It really is. I mean,
And for me in the bad nose, I got the cherry and the caramel coming in, the dark fruit, caramel coming in on the front end, but the flavors are all kind of run together. It's just good, smooth, caramely flavors with a little bit of bite on the front end.
yeah.
So what I like to do at this point of my video is, before we get to the battle, is I take what I have left, and if I need more, we can get more, but I put it over my ice, and I just let it sit for a second, because I want to see what happens.
Do that too?
Yes, you have to do that too. I mean, ask good guests.
Can we save some back?
I'll give you more if
Slam
you need.
that?
I'll give you more. I've got a whole bottle. I'm going to Florida again soon. I can buy more when I go to Florida. I really haven't been able to find this anywhere but Florida. I know that it's out there. I think it's in Georgia. I'm sure it's in Alabama and places like that. But the place that I bought it was, I found it in Florida.
That makes sense.
I have not been able to find it anywhere else. So I just let it sit there for a little bit. I don't. See, now you can smell that caramel.
You can.
I mean, could
You
really
certainly
smell,
can.
I can even smell the caramel. So I mean, putting that little bit out right over the ice, it brought out that caramel. I mean, I'm getting a real caramel. I mean, that's all I'm smelling is caramel now. You seem disappointed.
That really, well, the ice really
You
sweetened
can
it
be
up.
disappointed.
No, I'm not disappointed.
So you've already gone in for have you just the nose, or have you gone in for the taste?
He's already gone in for the taste. I saw him drinking.
You just went for it.
I did the nose. I went in for the taste. Yeah, I
Just went straight in for the kill.
I know. I mean, you know, I mean, well, I mean, we're,
I
you
think it's a little
know, it's a review thing here. You know, I'm worried
What I got
that,
on the nose.
you know, I have some very sophisticated viewers, and I'm going to be concerned that you know they're going to be worried about you, and I don't want them to put bad comments.
Well,
about
for
you
Clem's
out there.
sophisticated viewers out there, what I got on the nose, I'm more concerned about Clem's water supply because I got a real strong chlorine smell off of the ice.
Oh, here. You got chlorine off the ice?
I did.
Really? I don't
Maybe it's
smell
my
that.
glass.
Maybe. No, you shouldn't
Yeah.
get any chlorine.
What have you been doing all day?
You been in the pool?
No,
There's no chlorine there. Man, I have a filter on my ice.
it's all over. Maybe it's my glass.
Maybe it's your glass.
I got nothing, Donnie.
I got, man. What the heck?
I got no chlorine.
Can I leave now?
No, you can't.
Please, everybody. He's the first time person here. First time he's done this. Let's be easy on him, and let's make sure you know that you keep all the negative comments to yourself, and just give nothing but positive reviews for him. I mean, if he smells chlorine, he smells chlorine. We don't smell it, but if he smelled it, I'm good with it.
I'm not gonna argue it.
No, me neither. I'm gonna have a drink here and try this with ice.
It has
on
to be there.
It has to be there.
See, now it's a better drinker to
I
me.
mean,
I get now I taste oak. When I drink it, I can taste the oak in it, and I get a nice flavor now.
But you get a great flavor. Here's my concern with it is, you know, the more that waters down, without adding more to it, I think you're going to start washing flavor fast. I think it's going to dull down. And so, for me, I think I would probably drink it neat, more so than on a rock. That's just my preference. But it does mellow out even more than what it was over
Right.
ice, for certain.
Well, see, that's the best thing about bourbon. You know, they like it neat. I like mine with ice and water. I mean, because you know, I can feel. You know, if I drink it neat, I can only put this much in there because if you put that much in there, you're just a drunk. So I put this much in there, then you know, it seems like it goes fast. But if I can fill it up with water and I have a full glass, it seems like it lasts longer. So I'm just used to drinking my bourbon with water. So there is no water here. This is just the ice cube melting on it. And these are just plain old ice cubes. They're not special ice cubes. They're I guess they're chlorine infected ice cubes. But it does.
That's what the tray said specifically, right? This makes chlorinated ice cubes.
Chlorinated ice,
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought I've seen
Well,
those before.
and to me, the thing about
Could be just the
drinking
Mont
bourbon
Mel water.
is there's no wrong answer. If you like your bourbon with Coke in it, that's the way you like your bourbon. If you like it with
Yeah.
water, that's the way you like your bourbon. If you like a little ice on it, if you like it neat, you want it in the refrigerator cold. You know, there's no wrong answer.
I agree
You drink your bourbon the way you want to drink
100%.
your bourbon.
100%. I agree with that.
I think that's what makes it so great, you know, sitting down and sharing a bottle like this, because you get all these different opinions and all these different flavors that people are picking up out of it, and it's just neat, you know.
It
It's
is
neat to
just
share a bottle with somebody and hear those things. So
All right. Okay, so we've talked bourbon. Well, let's talk about the guys that made the bourbon and something that they went through back in 2001 after 9/11, when you know the U.S. was called to respond to the attack on the Twin Towers, and we sent soldiers. Originally, we sent in. Of course, the CIA was already there, but we originally then sent in first. That went in were the Special Forces, Green Berets, and that's these guys right here, Horse Soldiers, and they went in. And if you saw the movie 12 Strong, you know they you know had to politic with the general to go in, because there were several teams there, that were all wanting to get in there and to extract, I'm not going to say revenge, but to take the battle to the Taliban and to Al Qaeda, because they took it to us on our home country. So we wanted to take it back to them on their home ground too. So these guys, you know, were helicoptered into an Afghan Northern Alliance base, and you know, there was only I think there's 12 of them, and they met their commander from the Northern Alliance, and I want to say his name is Dostrom. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's General Dostrom, I think, was the Northern Alliance commander.
I think that's correct.
And you know, he gave them 6 horses, and 6 of them left and went. Guys, you know, are riding on horseback, and you know, right away, General Dostrom, you know, of course, he's a little skeptical of you know, the Americans. You know, he's been fighting the Russians for a while. You know, he's you know, not very impressed with, you know, the fancy gadgets that we have. So right away he tested them. And this is a little story, I think. If you read the books, you know, or watch the movie, you'll see this. They go to this valley, and they're on this valley, and he says, "You see that outcrop of the ridge over there?" And he goes, "Yeah, I see it." And he goes, "Can you bomb that?" And and they're like 5 or 6 miles away. And the guy goes, "Well, not really. I mean, I'm kind of too far away for that. I need to get closer. It'll get me closer." He goes, "No, you know, no. You need to. I want to see if you can do it from here." So then he goes, "Well, how do you even know that the Taliban's there?" He goes, he pulls his radio and starts screaming at him, yelling at him. You know, that he's talking to him. Yeah. He's got the same frequency that they do. You know, which is unheard of. And so the Taliban come outside of the thing. He says, "There they go." He says, "Okay, so I'll try." So he calls in a B-52. There's B-52 bombers up there, you know, 30,000 feet up or whatever they are.
That's from above.
And he's trying to, you know, use a laser rangefinder, you know, but 5 miles is 5 miles. And, you know, in 2001, we really didn't have that great of stuff. And he's trying to look at grid coordinates, and he's trying to figure stuff out. So he comes up with a grid coordinate, and he calls it in. And of course, it's off. But he's able to walk it in, and then he bombed it, so that, you know, General Dostrom kind of trusted him from there.
Proved himself.
Yeah, proved himself. So, you know, that was one of the things they did. You know, of course, riding the horses is another thing, you know, that they had to do to prove who they were and all that. So, you know, this went on for a while, and if you watch the movie, of course, there's some famous charges. You know, there's actually the first cavalry charge of the 21st century for the American Army. You know, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know, right now I'm in this love affair with the battles of the American West between the U.S. cavalry and the American Indians. So, you know, I'm constantly talking about them. And in fact, my next video is going to be about a battle called Rosebud Creek where they fought. But it's pretty cool that, you know, all these years later, with all this fancy equipment we have, you know, we've got soldiers riding into battle on horseback again, just like they did, like the 7th Cavalry did in Custer at Little Bighorn and the Civil War and stuff like that. So, the whole goal though is they're trying to get to this city called Mazar-i-Sharif. And Mazar-i-Sharif is this huge city that fell to the Taliban in 1998. And when the Taliban took it over, you know, of course, they massacred all these Sharia people there, and anybody that didn't have their exact religion. You know, that they also oppressed women. You know, they stopped all education for women. You know, they did all these things, and they've just been running this city like I mean, like old time. You know, where women weren't allowed to do anything, and you know, all that. So, but it's like a race. There's 3 generals in the Northern Alliance, and they're all fighting their way there, and they're all worried about who's going to get to enter the city first, because you know, the person that gets to enter the city first is the
man.
You know, so this Dostrom is pushing these guys, these horse soldier guys, trying to make sure, you know, they get there, but they're actually running into the most, you know, opposition,
Yep.
you know, of the Taliban. And in fact, one of the battles that they have to do to get through is through this valley where there's like 3,000 or 4,000 Taliban in there. They've got tanks, they've got rocket-propelled, you know, rockets. You know, they've got all that stuff like that, and they're fighting all that. And that's where they lead this charge in on these horses. You know, after he calls in some, you know, he gets closer and is able to call in strikes from the air and all that. They actually break through. So, you know, all that, and that's other battles we're going to talk about, you know, when we review a different one. But they get to Mazar-al-Sharif. And, you know, the Taliban, of course, is totally blown away. There was no way they thought they were, you know, that these guys were going to get there. I mean, they just did not think they'd get through. So, like the cowards that they are, you know, they decided to flee. So they started fleeing, but the U.S. and then they started bombing the city, and you know, trying to to get them out of there. One of the stories that's pretty intriguing to me is that, that the Taliban had called for foreign fighters, and they brought in about 900 young Pakistanis. I mean, we're talking kids,
Right.
16, 17-year-old kids. And these guys got there as the Taliban was fleeing, and they really didn't have a leader. They were kind of leaderless. They didn't know what to do, so they took refuge in a school. And they had totally fallen under the spell of their religious people, and their slogan was fight or die, fight and die.
Yeah.
So they were going to go ahead and die in place. So they were, anything that moved within that perimeter near that school, these young kids were shooting at, and they were killing people. So the Taliban started returning fire, even though it was a school, but it wasn't really doing any good. It took about 2 days before the Americans got permission to go ahead and engage.
And somewhere in the extensive literature that you gave me to read up in preparation for this discussion, it was something one of the Taliban leaders had reported out to his people, that if you fight in the jihad, if you fight on the side of God, that you won't die, you'll live forever in paradise.
Exactly.
So that was kind of a recruitment technique.
It was a recruitment technique, and that's what these Pakistani kids were believing. That if they fought in this jihad, then they would have the 77
But
versions.
there was also some information that they were kind of apprehensive about getting on the side of the Americans, because when the Taliban came in and took over, anybody that didn't believe exactly the way they did, they killed them.
Exactly.
So they were
Yeah.
kind of scared that the same thing was going to happen again.
Right. So a staff sergeant, E6 enlisted guy, is the one that called the raid in, and he dropped 4 1,000-pound bombs on that school, killed about 300 to 400 of those fighters. The battle only lasted a day or two. Like I said, most of them were fleeing anyway. I think that the body count was no Americans were injured in this battle. The Taliban lost anywhere from 500 to 900 soldiers that were killed. They captured 1,500 of them, or that surrendered, and the rest got away to fight another day. But it was the first major victory of of a war that here in 2019 we're still fighting. So so it was a pretty impressive display of soldiership by these 12 soldiers, these 12 Green Berets, and let's give credit to the other Green Beret units too that were with the other generals. They had to fight to get there too. It just so happens that a movie was made on these guys. So it's a pretty cool battle. Afghanistan, it's always good to go in and win right away.
Yeah.
So are the actual soldiers from that battle making this whiskey,
Yes.
or is this made in their honor?
No. The actual guys, some of the guys from that ODA team, that Green Beret ODA team, this is what they do. Yeah,
Even
when they
more
got out of
reason
the military.
to support it.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on a job well done.
Yeah,
You made
it's
a
a
good
delicious bottle.
Yeah,
Delicious
good bourbon. I like it. I mean,
I've gone back twice now.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan.
right. Well, if one of my assistants over here would hand me those 2 books, one of the last things we do. Thank you very much. One of the last things we do is I always, I have an extensive military library, so I like to go ahead and do a push. So Doug Stanton with Schreiber Press wrote this book. If you want to get it, it's called Horse Soldiers. Excellent read. I've already been reading on it. There's some good stuff in here. And then, of course, there's this mass paperback book out by Doug Stanton. It's a little bit different. It's called 12 Strong, and it's just a little bit different format. There's good maps in there, good information. If you get a chance, go out and buy these books. I mean, it's good stuff. Well, you guys got anything else?
Thank you for having us on
Hey,
the show.
thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely,
It was
appreciate
that was good. It was good bourbon.
Yeah,
A good episode. And that's it for tonight. And once again, just keep drinking bourbon, but drink the way you like to. Thank you.